What's going on, guys? It's me, DL Gaming, and today we want to kind of take a look at something that really has everyone talking in the NASCAR community, and that is the idea of Cup drivers running the Xfinity Series. What can I say that hasn't been said? We should ban all the Cup drivers from the Xfinity Series. No Cup guys. Don't let them race. And all the bushwhackers. There's a lot of different calls for the Cup guys to be kicked out of the Xfinity Series and not be allowed to race in it. But there's a slight problem with that, and that's the fact that that will cause major problems for the Xfinity Series. You look at the viewership now, and it's not as high as it used to be. It wasn't exactly Cup level high, but it wasn't as low as it is now. Viewership has had a steady decline in all of NASCAR series, especially through some of the smaller ones like the Camping World Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. But it's at least still maintained its own. The trucks dropped off more than the Xfinity Series, but the Xfinity Series still kind of stayed a little level with how the entire NASCAR series has been falling in terms of viewership and people attending the races and stuff. Why is that? It's because of the rules that have been implemented, the rule changes that have happened, and just everything that's been done. One of the biggest ones was at the time that they decided to make the rule where Cup drivers could only run for 1 points series. They couldn't run for all 3 series for points. They could only run for 1. Most of this stemmed from the time in 2000 and I do believe it was 2009 where Kyle Busch led all 3 series in points at the same time. Led the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup. And NASCAR thought that this would just make people tune out because the same driver's dominating. Why would I want to watch it? The same driver's going to win all 3 championships. So NASCAR made an initiative changing how the races went. Now your Cup guys can only run for Cup points, your Xfinity guys can only run for Xfinity points, and your truck guys can only run for truck points. They can't run in between each series. They can still run, but they can't run for points. So now you look, and here's all of these races in 2012 and 2013 that's basically dominated by Kyle Busch Motorsports and by Penske's Xfinity program run with Logano and Brad Keselowski. These guys are trading back victories, battling each other, and some people were enjoying it, but other people were like, hey, it's the same guys over and over winning. I mean, I'm getting kind of tired of watching this. And NASCAR said, you know what, you're right. Let's change it again. Cup guys now have a limited schedule they can run in the Xfinity Series. Really? What does that do? Now your Cup guys can no longer run in more than 10 races during the Xfinity Series, and one of those 10 races cannot be the season finale. Okay. What is that going to do? Cup drivers are still going to come in, still going to win races. They're still going to come in and take those top 10 spots away from drivers who would otherwise be getting points for finishing the top 10 at the end of stages and at the end of the race. What gives? So now the big call to arms is for NASCAR to keep Cup drivers out of the Xfinity Series as a whole. Don't let a single one in the Xfinity Series races. Most of this stems from the idea of Kyle Busch racing the Xfinity Series, which, a little bit of bias here, I really don't like that argument. So what? He comes back to the Xfinity Series, he runs his races, he does what he wants to do, and he'll either win or not. That's all it is. Comes in there, he'll either win the race or he'll just have a good run. But people are up in arms because oh, well, he's taking away candy from a baby. That's an actual argument that I have heard multiple times, that it's basically the same as stealing candy from a baby, taking a win from an Xfinity driver. And it's true, because they are technically baby drivers, because they're still young. They're still inexperienced. Some of them aren't even done with high school. Some of them are still in high school or just starting in college, and they're out here running the Xfinity Series against these Cup guys who have been running for years and have a ton of experience underneath their belts compared to these other drivers. So they're stealing candy from a baby. Yeah. Good argument. But the problem most of this has is the idea of these Cup drivers just coming down and just taking the wins and nothing happening. The points, the idea of making the playoffs for some of these making the playoffs for some of these Xfinity drivers is a problem, because now they can't get the wins that they deserve and they should rightfully get. If you can't race the guy and you can't pass the guy and you can't beat the guy, you don't deserve it. You just didn't get it. Move on to next week, race hard, and if you get it next week, you get it next week. But if you don't get it next week, just keep pushing forward. Every week there's an opportunity to win. Nothing changes just because, oh, here comes Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson or Joey Logano or Kevin Harvick down to the Xfinity Series. How are we going to win? That's not how it happens. Last week at Kentucky, Kyle Busch won the Xfinity Series race. Everyone was up in arms. They were like, oh, I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see like William Byron or Cole Custer or some Xfinity Series regular win it, not Kyle. You forget who the rest of the top 5 was? Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano. I mean, it's not just Kyle. Most people just point to Kyle. Kyle's not the only Cup regular running the Xfinity Series. No. Joey Logano's been doing it pretty constant. Keselowski does the same. Kevin Harvick comes in the races too. Dale Jr. does it. Chase Elliott does it. Kyle Larson does it. Paul Menard does it. You got a list that can go on. Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon. So what gives for singling out Kyle Busch? Kyle's one of the most disliked drivers in the NASCAR circuit today. A lot of people hate him because he's got a big attitude, a big ego, or other things like that. And it makes sense because, he's a good driver. He has a bit of an ego sometimes. He is a bit of an airhead. But he can back it up when he drives. These Xfinity Series races, you're not just getting the trophy handed to you because, oh, you're Kyle Busch or, oh, you're a Cup driver. They're having to race for it just as hard as the Xfinity Series regulars are, too. And they're in equal equipment is the biggest problem. Most people complain that, these Cup guys are taking it away. Well, they're in the same exact equipment these other guys are racing in, so there's no way they're taking it from them because they're not driving their 2018 Toyota Camrys against these Camaros that are modified to be slower for the Xfinity Series. They're not doing that. They're coming in running the same equipment and everything as these other drivers and just racing them hard and beating them. So the big problem, of course, is they kick all Cup drivers out of the Xfinity Series. Get them out of here. Don't let them race. Get them away from our young babies. And don't let them take their candy. So NASCAR is currently at that situation. They've reduced it to 10 races per each Cup regular, but it's not going to really change anything. It doesn't. It hasn't. This year, only 3 drivers in the Xfinity Series, 3 Xfinity regulars, have won a race, one of which winning 2 races. 4 of the 16 races were won by an Xfinity Series regular. 3 of those races won were on restrictor plate tracks. The other one was in a weekend where there were no other Cup drivers because they were at a different racetrack. People are up in arms about that kind of thing because, that's not fair. All the Cup guys are taking the wins. Well, if you can beat him at a super speedway, you can beat him anywhere else too. It's not just all because, oh, they got lucky at the restrictor plate racetrack and they did it. Elliott Sadler, Ryan Reed, and William Byron are 3 winners this season. Elliott Sadler is a washed-up Cup driver who moved down to the Xfinity Series. But no one's up in arms about that because, oh, he's riding in the Xfinity Series full time. There's no problem here. Dude ran in Cup multiple years, and since he couldn't get any success and no one wanted to offer him a ride, now he's down to the Xfinity Series regular as a part-time Cup driver, where he'll come in, at the super speedways and every so rare occasion in the 7 car for Tommy Baldwin Racing and run the 7 car. That's the same exact thing as the Cup drivers are doing, except they're coming in and they're just running the Xfinity Series. Biggest argument is they're only doing it for the money. It's all about the money. There's nothing else. It's not about getting more track time. It's not about getting an edge, finding out what the better line to run is, finding out how the track's working with the cars. It's about money. That's not the case either. So you want to change that. Let's kick the drivers out of there. What do you do then? Now you've only got Xfinity Series regulars running the race. Maybe a truck driver or two will come up every so often and run a race. Where do you go from there? Where does the viewership go? The Truck Series is losing their fan base and their following pretty steadily and pretty rapidly because there's no Cup guys. There's no big names coming in here to race in the Truck Series because of this rule. Kyle Busch ran Kentucky. I'm pretty sure that was about the only truck race he's run this year, maybe Daytona as well. But he hasn't really run any of the truck races. And viewership has gone down for the Truck Series. There's been no one watching it. It's been uneventful. It's been lackluster. There's been no story. There's been nothing really. There's been no interest. The Xfinity Series, you've had Cup regulars coming down every week and racing and putting on shows. But because they're winning, it's not fair. Kick them out. The reason the Xfinity Series still gets as many views as it does, still has many people tuning into it, still has people coming to see it, is because they have the Cup drivers. The initiative that NASCAR brought in to kind of suit this and kind of prove a point, in my opinion, is the idea of now Truck Series and Xfinity Series races, kids can get in for $10 for a ticket. That's a weird point to bring up, I know, but here's what you say. It's a way because, they can't sell tickets, so they're making it cheaper for the kids to get in. Right, correct. But think of this. Why do you think more people view the Xfinity Series race and go to the Xfinity Series race to attend it rather than the trucks? Cup regulars that come down to the Xfinity Series and race. Not to mention, if your kid is a Joey Logano fan, a Kyle Busch fan, a Kevin Harvick fan, a Kyle Larson fan, any of those drivers, and they're announced that they're going to be at this track for the Xfinity Series, you can bet you're going to go to the Xfinity Series to go meet your favorite driver rather than the Cup Series because, yeah, Cup Series is awesome and all, but it's more expensive. You can meet your driver for much cheaper at an Xfinity Series race than at a Cup race. See a connection here? So let's kick them all out. What are you going to do then? What's going to happen? Now, not a lot of people are going to really come to the Xfinity Series unless they like the Xfinity Series drivers, or if they're bored and they want to see a race and they don't want to pay for the Cup, so they go to the Xfinity Series. You're not going to have as many viewers as you have been having. So, there's been no point to this so far. I haven't really given you anything to talk about. I haven't really said anything to you that would make you think, wow, let's keep the Cup drivers in the Xfinity Series because that would be great. I haven't given you that wow factor yet because I'm building up to it. I'm giving you reason to why this will work and why this will benefit everybody. Get this. How would you feel if I told you we'd let the Cup drivers run for points in the Xfinity Series? Your head would explode. You'd be like, there's no way. Because then the Xfinity Series, it's just going to be a bunch of Cup guys in the playoffs, and they're going to be winning it all. And there's going to be no young guys coming up and winning and getting the promotion of the Cup Series like they've been dreaming of since they were kids. Understand that. You got to race, though. You can't. You're not going to get given it. You got to race to prove that you're going to win it, and you're going to get that. So racing against the Cup guys will give you that opportunity. But the idea of just letting the Cup guys come in every week and race is just it irks me. It's wrong because they're going to steal all the wins, and no young guy is going to get the win. Can we mention for the fact that also there's a pretty good majority of Xfinity Series drivers that are not young guys. They're just guys that either fell off from the Cup Series or just haven't been able to move up to the Cup Series. Elliott Sadler fell off. Mike Lynette kicked out. Justin Allgaier, his team dropped him. David Starr never got big. J.J. Yaley couldn't get back to the Cup. A lot of these drivers just aren't able to get to the Cup, and they just stick it at the Xfinity Series, and they're older guys. So it's not like you're only stealing from young guys. You're stealing from guys that have experience as well in winning races, like Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, Michael Annett, David Starr, J.J. Yaley. It's not all just young guys out there. There's some other older guys. When Morgan Shepherd was racing, nobody flipped out because, oh, here we have this old guy stealing wins from the young guns. It's all because of Kyle. But here's the proposal. This will be something that will make you go a little insane at first thinking about, but then you think about it and you're like, maybe this could work. Maybe this might work. Or maybe it will work. Here's the proposed plan. The plan is very, very simple. Daytona. First race of the season. Everybody's happy. It's racing time. We're finally back to go racing. So, the big highlight is the 500 and the duels and the showdown. No one's really worried about the Xfinity of the truck race. I mean, they're just more races. But they still have a pretty good following because, it's first race of the season. It's exciting to go see the race at Daytona. Well, you want to let the drivers in. Here's what you do. Before you have actual qualifying to make the field, before you determine who will be racing, all the Cup regulars that are coming down wanting to participate, here's what you do. You take them and you isolate them all together. And there's multiple ways you could do this. One way is you could have them all have a qualifying session of just Cup drivers. Top 5 get to advance and move on to the Xfinity Series race, and the rest, they can't race in it. They can't go find another car. They just can't race. 2, put their names in a big hat and mix it up and just draw 5 names. That's another thing. I mean, it's interesting. It's a thing of luck and whatnot. Number 3, they had a UFC ring, an MMA ring one time in the infield of Daytona. Bring it back and let the drivers just brawl to see who makes the race. Of course, last one is obviously a stretch. It's a joke. It's meant for humor. It's not real. But those first 2 could possibly work. I mean, after all, we do remember how not a long time ago, a few years back, they used to draw at the beginning of Speed Weeks to determine where you would qualify and where you would start in the duels and whatnot. They used to do that. They had that. I mean, it's not like that's wild to hear about drawing stuff. It's happened before. They drew to see who would get to qualify when during the 500. That's how it went. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it, so that's not off the table. But the qualifying makes it a little bit more interesting as well. You have your 5 Cup drivers now that are lined up, ready to go with the Xfinity Series drivers, and ready to go qualify. But you have 37 Xfinity Series drivers that are trying to make the field. Most people would say, okay, just cut 3 of the Cup drivers, or 2 of the Cup drivers will be fine. We'll have the 40 field, and everybody will be happy except for those 2 drivers that got cut from the Cup. No, everyone qualifies the same way. No, the Cup drivers don't get a special bonus because they're Cup drivers. They won their 5 spots guaranteed. They're not guaranteed spots. If more than 35 Xfinity Series regular drivers enter to try to qualify, those 5 Cup guys are not guaranteed into the race either. They're not going to get a guarantee no matter what. So they can they have to go qualify and make the race just like anybody else would have to. Any of those smaller car teams that would have to make the race on their speed or go home. That makes it more interesting as well. So now there's more competitiveness. There's more drive in the younger guys and in the Cup guys to go out there and qualify and get that fast speed, as well as go out there and race, because here's why. Those 5 Cup drivers that made the race, they can run for points. They can get stage wins, unless we want to scrap the whole idea of stages, because honestly it's a really stupid idea. But they can go out there and they can race for points. They can race for wins, and they can make it to the championship. But here's where a catch comes in. Daytona 500 comes around. Top 10 drivers. Kyle Busch, no particular order. We'll just name the drivers, no particular order. Kyle and Kurt Busch in the top 10. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., Chase Elliott, and Paul Menard. Let's just go with that top 10. The next week, those 10 drivers are eligible to run in the Xfinity Series if they choose to. If they don't choose to, they don't have to, and that just kind of lowers the amount for how many are able to go qualify for it. Another eligibility thing is if you ran the week before and you got points. So let's say the 5 drivers that ran last weekend were Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez. Jones Suarez didn't finish in the top 10 of the 500, but they're still allowed to go in and qualify for the next race because they have points. Now, if they don't finish in the top 10 at Phoenix, the second race of the season, that point bonus that they have, that extra cushion for making the race, poof. Now they can't make it for the third race of the season because they didn't qualify for the second one, and then they didn't finish in the top 10 in the second Cup race. So now they're not able to get an easy slide into the next race. Now they have to go earn it again by getting in the top 10. It's a little confusing when you think about it, but it makes sense in the long run. As well as the fact that now it makes it more competitive and more interesting because you have Cup drivers coming down having a possibility to win the race and win the championship, but they also have to perform in the Cup Series to guarantee that next week they can run for the Xfinity Series again and run for points. It makes everything more exciting, and it makes people want to tune back in and see, okay, my favorite Cup driver is running for Xfinity points. He won a race. He won one of the races in the Xfinity Series, but he didn't finish in the top 10 this week or last week and didn't make the race last week. Now he's missing a second week of the Xfinity Series, and now he's starting to drop in the points. Now he may not make the playoffs, and that's where it adds more intensity, more excitement in it. And that'll get more people watching, and that'll get more people saying, is this driver going to make it? Is he going to be able to keep in the points race and try to battle for the championship? Or is he going to drop out because of lackluster performances in the Cup? Now, it's a far-fetched idea. It's something that may never be picked up, may never be seen as plausible. But it might work. And it would be very interesting to see something like that happen. That's my hot take on this. But if you think about it, it could be huge to see what could happen years from now if this rule were implemented. How the scope of the NASCAR, of the whole organization, how the field looks, how the teams look, how the drivers are, in the viewership. Change around some rules, test it, mess around with it, and there might be something there. That's just what I think. So, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Kind of unusual of me to do these things because I don't really do that much anymore, of like face cam and rants. Most of the time I'm kind of sticking with my games and stuff. Look forward to some 2K17 content hopefully in the next few days or so. NBA Live mobile stuff I'll be getting back into that. Maybe a little bit of Madden Mobile, don't know yet. But other than that, just kind of keep your eyes open, turn on post notifications. Like this video if you thought my rant was funny, if you thought it made sense at the same time, if you agree with it. And if you don't, dislike it. Go ahead and dislike. Hit the dislike button if you didn't agree with it. And if you dislike it, I want you to leave me a comment below and tell me, what you think on my take of how this should all work. Tell me what you're thinking is wrong with it, or what you're thinking should be a better alternative. And if you like it, spread it. Tell other people, hey, look at this dude talking about a cool new rule that we can implement. But like the video, leave a comment down below what you think, and subscribe for more, I guess. And I will see you all next time.